So this week we're talking about modeling to help children learn. A dad's voice is the strongest when his behavior and actions line up with his words. So we want to model pro-social behavior. Our children will learn based upon what you say, but they learn even more by what you do. So as we talk about in this session, I want you to join in as we talk about modeling to help children learn. Your children are watching you, and remember, your actions speak louder than your words. Let's go into the session.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Man to Man Studios. I'm Terrence Turner, Dallas Quality Manager.
Daniel Blathers, Intervention Specialist, Man to Man Florence.
Trevor Down, Intervention Specialist, Man to Man Bennettsville.
I'm Derek Deese, Executive Director.
Listen, guys, I'm so excited because we made it to week 6. So give yourself a round of applause. All right, fellas, we give them applause for making it to week 6.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Continue to grind. And we're going to talk about today modeling to help children learn. Again, modeling to help children learn. And I'm going to start off with this statement. It says, a father speaks the loudest and the clearest when his lips and life both say the same thing. Wait a minute, that's powerful there. Let me say that again.
One more time.
A father speaks the loudest and the clearest when his lips and life both say the same thing. Gentlemen, what does that statement speak to you guys?
Well, you got, first and foremost, your kids are always watching. So sometimes we can, say things that what we want them to know, but then we got to do it too.
Wow.
It's almost like telling your child to save money, but you're not saving, and every time they ask, you broke. But save yours.
Right.
Well, Dad, did you got a savings account? No. Well, then sometimes the action has to be the part that they're going to learn from more so than in the words.
Powerful.
I think just to cut it real short, match your words with your actions. Because like they always say, action speaks louder than words.
Yeah.
So when you match your words with your actions, that's the real thing right there. Yeah, so parents, as fathers, we need to, whatever thing we say, we have to do it. Whatever thing we think about it, or maybe we share with our kids, it's very important because, like you said, they would always want to learn from those things that we say and those things that we do. So when you tell them, you have to do it.
Wow. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So they can copy from you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of times kids, I think sometimes parents try to live by that mantra, don't do as I do, do as I say do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they do things like, for example, you tell your kids, don't smoke.
Yeah.
Boy, go get me some Newport. Go bring my pack of Newports. But you're preaching to this child, don't smoke.
Wow.
Or you tell your kids, all right, now, no matter what you do, don't drink. But when they open the refrigerator to get some orange juice, there's a Coors Light, there's a Budweiser, there's some Ciroc. So our actions really drown out the speech.
Wow.
Your action really does speak louder than your words. But when your words and action correspond,
Come on.
it leaves a lasting impression. Now the kid has learned. Because kids, are bimodal learners. They learn by what they hear, but they learn by what they see as well. So if you're saying something, your action drives the message home.
Yeah, that's good. Especially when we're talking about modeling. What are we modeling?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to look at that. You're saying, am I saying don't drink and then I'm turning up the Budweiser? Or I'm smoking the spiller for whatever you're saying, But what are actually saying? And I think it confuses the child when they see a mixed message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm hearing daddy say, don't do these things, but I see daddy do it.
That's right.
So do we want to send mixed messages or do we want to send the correct fatherly message?
That's right.
You have to send the correct message. And, I'll give you a firm example of, like, my daughter, her mom. Well, her mom was in college.
Okay.
At the same time, sisters in high school, my daughter's growing up. So mom says, in order for anybody to do anything, everybody has to make honor roll. She said, I work, I'm in college, I have A and B's. Everybody in the house is going to have it. And that was just a standard in the house. So her sister had A's and B's, my daughter had A's and B's, mom got... So mom set that standard, and I come out, hey, listen, this is what you go do. You know, because my daughter said, well, Dad, I want to do this. What your grades look like? So here I am.
Wow.
I have to reinforce
That's
the
good.
same thing that
That's
mom
right.
is pushing. But
That's right.
she has that example in the house. Everybody's setting the example.
Wow, that's good.
But you know, I thought about the word respect along with that. Oftentimes, men, we tell our sons, you know, a boy should always respect girls. You know, whatever you do, respect girls. Boys don't hit girls. But if the father has a lot of negative words to say about his mother, or he gets mad, he puts his hand on his mother, his words, he's just disqualified himself because his words don't line up with his actions.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can actually, that's a foul on the play. I mean, you literally crossed the line. You really disqualified yourself. Your words don't hold any weight if they don't line up with your actions.
That's good. So, wow. I just had an image while you were saying that flag on the play. I just thought of fatherhood flag on the play. And know that, you know, that's against, you know, of what we want to try to do. Like you were saying, that was positive models and reinforcement.
Yeah.
Man, that is so powerful because something about standards. You can have negative standards and positive standards.
Right.
So which one are we setting out? So we have to be mindful of our behaviors and what we're setting out. So very powerful stuff. We want to demonstrate in detail how would you like them to behave and have them practice that behavior. First, we have to demonstrate it, then have them see it, and then do. See, do. So what do you guys think about that?
I think, let me tell you a little bit to teaching, all right? In teaching, we always talk about a learner-centered method of teaching.
Wow.
Where we understand that the learner has the ability to do whatever thing they want to do. You're not impacting knowledge on them, but you're guiding them, you're facilitating the whole learning process. All you do is, because these kids, they have a lot in them. So what you need to do as a parent is, all you need to do is just guide them. You don't tell them, like, because with the teaching learning method, you don't tell him what to do. Like, you tell him, oh, okay, you show him what to do. Because you tell him, like, okay, if you want to drink water, you need to uncork this bottle and you put it in. So when you show them, next time he's not going to come back to you to ask that. He's going to pick it up, do what you said, and do it the right way. So when you show them in teaching, when you show them, they better understand the lesson. Rather than telling them, oh, this is water, how, when you want to drink, do this. But when you say all of that, it might get in this way and go out on the other side, because they are exposed to a lot of stuff from the environment. But when you demonstrate this is what you need to do, they're going to follow suit.
Wow, powerful.
I was thinking about, even in brain science, they say from the age of 0 to 6 years old, a child actually watches and his brain is stimulated and it forms synapses in the brain to memorize behavior.
Wow.
So from that age, the child is actually being hardwired based upon the environment, based upon the stimuli. So if a child sees something every day, his brain wires itself to that behavior, whether positive or negative. So you take a child that has been certain behaviors modeled in front of them over and over again, and so he's become hardwired. And then you turn around and tell a child, well, this is what I want you to do. Do this. You've already hardwired that child to think a certain way just based upon modeling that out in front of that child. So I think it's very important to know that, and what happens is, when a child is under stress and pressure when they get older, guess what we go back? We go back to our default settings.
That's good.
However we were set in the beginning, when we're stressed, we don't know what to do, we automatically go back to those settings.
Wow, that's good and so powerful. And so that we got to be mindful of what we're doing. And those wiring, that hardwire, man, that's a powerful image there. Because even when you're not there, what you put in there is speaking to them. So they're gonna pull from that. So that's powerful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We also want to give them encouragement along with constructive criticism. And I like that example that you said about the grades and the standard. So even though the mother set it in place, you reinforce that, but you can be like, well, your mom put this in place, but you said, okay, this is what we're going to do because she says A's and B's. That's what we're going to do in this household. So let's just kind of talk about that process.
I think even a lot of times being a non-custodial parent, a lot of times we want to be the fun person, you know, and sometimes we overcompensate by just giving. So we may pull away from the rules that's already set in the house that they're in. But when we co-parent correctly, and you know, mom and dad can talk about these things and talk about the standard together, then we can reinforce it at the same time. Because, like I said, my daughter may want certain things or ask, can she do things? Well, my first thing is, how's your grades? And although I'm not saying, well, your mom said, but that's me.
Right.
So I judge you by your efforts in school. That's how she earned her money during the week. You know, I told her, your grades are, you know, you going to school is your job. So she equate, you know, I get money every 2 weeks because that's when I got paid. So every 2 weeks, 1st and 15th, clockwork. Dad, here's. So, and after a while, you know, because I nicknamed my daughter my little smarty. So she just, it continues on. So then it's like, what can I get now? I was like, well, I got A's.
Yeah.
So now, you know, because that lesson was, like Derek said, hardwired in there from day one, it continues on. Like, you know, my daughter just hit middle school and got her first C last year in 7th grade.
Wow.
And it kind of bothered her because she never had one. But how you rewire, you know, and her thing was, like I said, default set, she went back to, hey, I got to lock down, pull it back up. Now she's back to, hey, what can I get? You know, so.
That's right.
That's good. That's
But you said, think about constructive versus destructive criticism. Sometimes we parent how we were parented or how we were not, or the absence of being parented.
Right.
So when you think about constructive criticism, we have to be careful how we do this. Every child personality is different.
Right.
Yep.
You don't parent every child the same.
That's good.
Even though you have a set models of, you know, generals that are very persistent and consistent, but you parent based upon personality as well. So if you know that child is very sensitive, if that child does something wrong, you have to be careful that you don't crush the spirit of that child. So sometimes by criticizing, you can criticize in a constructive way. Other words, Johnny, I need you to take the trash out. Johnny goes take the trash out. He drops the trash everywhere. The bag busts. Boy, didn't I tell you, are you stupid or something? You just labeled that child. You're going to make him question his own intelligence. Maybe I am stupid. So constructive criticism, Johnny, come here, son. The next time, put your arm under the bag and cuff it and grab the top. That way, you know, it won't bust. But nice try. You know, try it again. You know, it'll work for you.
Wow.
You can say the same thing without bringing the negative impartation to that child. So constructive criticism and not destructive. And think about the words. Construct means to build.
Build up.
I'm giving you this information to build you. Destructive, I'm destroying you in my criticism.
Wow.
And
That's good.
sometimes if we've been crushed, hurting people will hurt other people. So sometimes as a parent,
good.
we have to check our own selves and do some introspecting and make sure that we're not taking out on that child what was done to us.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
Maybe just to add to criticism from what Derek said, it's just like sometimes when you have a situation like he just highlighted, then you have to compare. Like your brother should have done it better.
Yeah.
Now you kill maybe a spirit who was trying to learn. But when you start comparing them in terms of criticizing, then you get it all wrong.
Yeah.
Very good. Then you want to add something?
No, I wanted to go back to a point Derek was making. And as men and as fathers, are we harder on our boys? You know, because the way the world, you know, kids are not as physical as we used to be. So, you know, a lot of times now, kids try to prove their manhood through, you know, physicality.
You soft.
Yeah. But they're actually not physical kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we grew up, we went outside and played football
Yeah.
versus we in the house 3 hours on Madden. If we watched wrestling, we threw
practiced.
each other around. We practiced the moves.
Yeah.
But now, our boys are not coming up that way. But, our old school mentality is like,
right.
hey, let's go.
That's right.
But it doesn't match today's world sometimes.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, that's good. That's a good insight on that
Yeah.
too. So we have to be mindful of the culture and climate that we're living in, and
Yeah.
how we want to father and parent as well.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
that's good. We also want to set aside time on a regular basis to do something fun with your children. Sometimes fathers, we get the rap, we know all hard and rigid and the disciplinarians, which we should do that as well. But you have to have that healthy balance of fun so the child know I can come dad and play and wrestle and have a good time and things of that nature. What do you guys think about that point there?
I like, because you said setting aside time, being intentional. I think sometimes with our families, we give them what's left instead of prioritizing.
Ooh, that's good. Come on, talk about this.
After I've done this, and after I've finished doing this, and after I've ran the errands, if I have some time left, we'll see, can we try to do something?
And normally you're tired.
And you're not treating them as priority. Just like we set aside time for everybody else. Sometimes I wonder sometimes, do we make our kids feel as though they have to compete for our time?
Wow.
And if you are a single father and you get into the dating arena, you set time for your missus for Saturday or Friday, whenever, and you come and spend time with your kids if you got time left. And instead of saying, you know what, Saturday belongs to them, whatever they want to do. And it's not just doing something. Or when setting aside time, now it's not really just about the quantity, but it is the quality.
Yeah.
So instead of, well, I'm going to go, yeah, it's my week. Almost like a chore. Well, it's my week to pick up Jimmy or Karen. And when I pick them up, we ride, what you want to do? I'm spending more time on my phone. And it's making that child feel as though he really wants to be with whoever he's on the phone with.
Right.
And he's just tolerating me. So I think setting aside time with that child demonstrates the love instead of saying just you love them.
Wow. And I just heard being present in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, not just be like, like something that's labor, I have to do it, but you get to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to be present in that moment and let them know they are the most valuable thing to me at that present time.
That's right. Who I mean, think about it. Leftovers never taste as good as the original meal.
Come on. Yeah.
And sometimes time, we give our children leftovers.
Oh, wow. Wow. Go ahead, Dan.
Now, I know Derek can relate. When you have girls, it's especially a little bit different because, if you got a boy, y'all kind of do some of the same things. So me, getting the son and say, hey, well, we go finish the night watching the game.
Right.
Till we fall asleep. That may be fine, but you got daughters as a man, you got to switch your whole concept up because she might sit here and just thinking about nails, and you might be sitting there like, man, like, but guess what? Either you pull out your art skills, even though you might mess it up,
Right.
like you really have to show a different interest, dealing with a child of the opposite sex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Washing hair, there's some days I was like, Dad, I gotta get my hair done, so I gotta wash it today. Well, guess what? She got a head full of hair. That's gonna be an all-day drying process. So it's either we figure it out,
Yeah.
but I'll go and got my hand in, we doing
That's right.
everything, and then you just have to have that patience to sit here and say, you know what?
That's right.
I got to get in touch with the feminine side to see what's really going on, because that's a whole switch when you I know it is for me.
Absolutely.
I know you can relate. He got a girl like that.
Yeah.
That's a different ball game.
Absolutely. But if you make that investment, I think you get a return on it.
That's
so
right.
whatever you invest, you're gonna receive that. Like, so we kind of talked about it earlier. Whatever you sow, you're gonna reap.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
But if you take that time to be intentional, learn about what matters to them, what they like, man, the benefit and the harvest of that's going to be something
Oh, yeah.
beautiful.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Also, we want to, rather than tell them what they not to do, teach them and show them what they should do. Rather than tell them what not to do, we want to teach and show them. Teach and show them what they should do.
Old song goes, show and tell is the game we play.
Oh,
His age.
I'm not going to sing it, but show and tell is the game we play.
Wow.
Because think about it. When you think about someone that impacted your life the most, they may have been the most quietest person, but their actions were so loud that it resonated with you. Trevor said something, I think we first interviewed him, and we was talking about, I think the question I may have asked, who is your role model, who had the most impact in your life? He talked about his father, even though his father was very quiet. And you can tell it better than me. But how his life and the things he did basically modeled out his whole life. You know,
Yeah.
if you elaborate there.
Yeah, like Derek said, I understood. It was when I grew older that I understood his personality. He was more of an introvert, and he was melancholic in nature. Like a lot of him was in his thoughts, and all he did was, if he wanted to tell you that it's good to give, he had to take you on a scene where he was giving out to people. So all you need to do was, when you watch him doing it, you were moved. And it was until his demise that a whole lot of people were like, man, this man he taught us a whole lot, but he didn't say much, but everybody could testify that he taught us a whole lot. He was there to pay your fees, never talked back to my mom, he was always there in church, always there, make sure that everything was right. Never a day we sat home without food. Man, he was doing all of those things without talking.
wow. Wow.
Your
We
actions.
learned a lot from it.
Speak loud in
And
your words.
when he said that, it made me think about my father. Even though my father talks, but his actions, how I saw him do life, how I saw him do family, you absorb that, not even knowing you absorb that. Like his thing was like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
She, breakfast every morning, make sure we were ready to go to school. I would see dad work, come home, lights were paid, always had a car, always had food in the refrigerator. And he had this thing that a man provides. Man provides. Even if the woman cannot bring a dime to the table, it's your responsibility to make sure the household can carry out and make things happen. Even though he said that before, I saw him do that over and over again.
Wow.
Until it became instinctual in me that, okay, it's my job to make sure everything flows. If everything starts and stops with that man. If there's a need to be met, then ain't no excuse to be lazy. You got to get it done. Because he didn't so much say that so much just in the speech. He lived that before me. And I took that same principle because he demonstrated it so much, it became part of your hard wiring. So, yeah.
Awesome. Just want to ask both of you gentlemen, what did that modeling that your fathers did, how did that challenge you today, and how can you impart that to your children and also our viewers as well? If they didn't grow up to see that kind of fathering, what advice could you give some of our viewers? What can they do to kind of
Demonstrate. I'll always know that your child is watching you more than what you think. And no matter what anybody says about you, your stock is good with them. When a child sees you, I don't care how bad the child's mother says you are. I don't care how much the grandma says you are, how bad you are. That child sees a Superman S on your chest. When that child sees you, you're the best thing in the world. And until your actions prove them wrong,
wow, that's good.
they're not going to believe what everybody's saying. And everybody can say 99 people can say bad things about you. But if that child sees something different, you're still that child's hero.
Wow.
So I would encourage every man every father, to just be the best, knowing that there's some little eyes watching you. And whatever you do, when your child gets to a dark day in their life, when they look down and don't know where to go, let them be able to see your footprints so they can put their feet in your prints and follow where they need to go.
Wow. Powerful. Very good. Good. Trevor, something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say the whole idea about parenting is like a vocation, right? And it's a work in progress. So sometimes you don't limit yourself just to, because I would tell you, there's nobody who does something wrong that does not feel inside like this thing is wrong. So when you do something wrong, when you see the wrong thing and you see the right thing, you'll definitely know. So it's up to you to always try to emulate those people within your society. It's not only your father, but you could look around and you can have role models away from them. You could also, like avenues like these or the services we offer, you could always run to them just to ask like, hey, in this situation with my kids, how do I go about it so I can become a good person? So it's a work in progress, and you have to use every opportunity at your disposal to learn the right thing so you can later on impact the right thing on your children.
Okay. And I say this too, add this.
Yes, sir.
Also give your child permission without feeling guilty or threatened to tell you how they feel.
That's right.
Be a listener. Be an understanding dad. I think so many times we spend time trying to educate our kids until we really don't know them, because the only thing they've been hearing is you. Have you been hearing them? These are little people. And sometimes you got to solicit feedback, and soliciting feedback is want to know not what you want to hear, but how they interpreting your actions. Because I can be saying something, but my child may not be interpreting my actions correctly. Every relationship is bilingual.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Just because you're saying something, that may not be what I'm hearing. Maybe you picking me up, I'm thinking that this means daddy has duty. Find out what that means to that child.
Yeah, that's
Daddy,
good.
when you pick me up, it makes me feel like you're doing it because you got to do it. Oh, is this how I've been making you feel?
Wow.
No, I love you. I want to spend time with you. Oh, okay. Making sure you understand that child's feelings. And teach your child that as a man, there's nothing wrong with closing your mouth and listening.
That's good. That's good.
The proverb goes, a wise man will hear and increase in learning, but a fool will despise wisdom.
Wow. Powerful. And go along with that tip. It says, try to see a situation that your child sees it. Listen carefully to them. Try to form a mental picture of how it would look to them. So that means you have to get down and listen on their level. See how they understand. Now I believe we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. You know, sometimes we do a lot more talking than we do listening.
That's right.
Right, but we have two ears and one mouth, so we should be listening twice as much as we are speaking. And when, like you said, little people, you have to break it down and get down on their level and kind of understand what they're saying, what they're trying to communicate, and let them know certain feelings they need to can communicate, and being able to articulate that to me, so I can understand how to listen, process, and give them the right response.
There's some children been exposed to so much, and
especially now in this cultural climate that we're living in.
And they're waiting to get to their 40s and 50s to feel as though now I can come out and talk about how I feel.
Wow.
But those suppressed thoughts and maybe anger can basically offset their lives in a way that we could have avoided. So if we check in with our children on a regular basis to find out they're okay, because sometimes children may tell you what they think you want to hear, but give them permission to be honest. Give them permission to be vulnerable. Give them permission to be open-minded. It could be some things that they're going through when they're not in your presence, when they're with the mother or with someone that you might need to hear. So because some of those children are impressionable. They're still trying to figure out this whole little world, that they're in. But they need permission to make mistakes. They need permission to ask how to do things better. So we got to really teach children it is all right for you to communicate your feelings.
That's very good. Trevor, you have something you want to answer?
Yeah, I think being a parent doesn't mean you're the boss. It's simply like you're the leader.
Good. I love that.
When you talk about, which means you've once been a kid, you've once been a child. So, and leadership, like we always say, it's service. So the best way that you can communicate to your kids by just leaving it open, being the servant that you are. Listen to them, and servants will always want to listen. Like, it's just like you can go nowhere. Maybe if somebody's giving you, like, referring you to go maybe sit somewhere, or maybe go have a meal somewhere, it's based on the customer service, right?
Right.
And so when people treat you well, definitely you always have a positive feedback.
That's right.
That's the same thing that you need to do to your kids. Consider yourself like you're doing a service to them. Be there for them. Open up. Give them all the need. Submit yourself to them and listen, and you get it right. And you always find them want to confide in you. You always find them want to tell you all they go through. And I tell you, you always have a positive result. You always have, when you go on your review as a father from your kids,
Yeah.
you always be like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. So
He said something that I just gotta piggyback off. When he said letting your kids talk to you and communicate, never punish your children for expressing their real thoughts.
Wow.
There's certain some kids, well, if I tell daddy this, he's gonna get mad. Or if I say how I really feel, I'm gonna be on punishment. Never let your kids feel guilty for expressing how they really feel.
Wow. That's good. That's good. That was some powerful things and some suggestions that you guys brought out, man, especially when that customer service really spoke volumes to me. Because sometimes when you get good customer service, you're going to tell somebody about that, right?
That's right.
And then going back to, he was saying those 5 stars.
yeah,
You're grading yourself, that you're taking inventory. And then in our content, we have our dad's report card here, right? And so with dad's report card, it just have different things that you want to grade yourself on, and then you can get more details on that as you come into the sessions and things of that nature, and get with your intervention specialist. But I just want to talk about a few of the categories on there. It says conduct category: attitude, availability, integrity, communication, relationship, contribution, self-sacrifice, protection, involvement, guidance, support, and correction. So those are some of the preliminary areas that you want to grade yourself in. And you want to grade yourself, we got the A through E. E, excellent. B, very good. C, good. D, needs improvement. And F, needs immediate attention. Right?
yes,
So, listen, we have to take inventory. Have to take inventory on that thing. You have to really grade yourself. And you're going to take this thing personal and taking it positive, because your children are worth that.
that's right.
They are worth that. Also, we have carrying the load. Now, LOAD is an acronym, stands for lonely, overwhelmed, angry, and depressed. Carrying the load. Sometimes as fathers, we have a heavy load to carry, a heavy burden to carry. And that load is lonely, overwhelmed, angry, and depressed. Lonely. You guys talk about that, of being lonely for us, like fathers, maybe single fathers or things of that nature.
Ooh, that can go in so many areas, because you can be in a crowd and still be lonely.
Wow.
Sense of abandonment sometimes. Sometimes when a relationship goes sour, we go through a rejection cycle, and you can have a sense of abandonment where you are with people but not the person you really want to be with. And there are some fathers that, because the relationship is not good between the child's mother and himself, some of them face isolation with their kids and maybe need to get visitation, because they go through a loneliness stage because they feel as though they're by themselves. So some men, because we have been hardwired again not to express our feelings, we feel lonely because we feel like nobody really understands us, because there's nobody really to bounce things off of.
Wow. Anybody else want to kind of chime in on that lonely?
I think is part of it is also maybe what the father has going on in their life. And sometimes we rely on our kids to be our bright spot. And if that doesn't happen, along with whatever the rest of the world is throwing at us, that adds on to the problem. So which kind of goes into our next part, being overwhelmed, because we're trying to fit so many different things. If you're worrying about a job, child support provided for your child, got to go spend time with my child, I got to go do this. I got so many different things going on that sometimes being a parent, you hear women say it a lot, with so many duties in the house, it gets overwhelming. Same thing for us.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because you're on the outside, especially with that providing part, the pressure is always put on the man. You're supposed to provide, work 2 or 3 jobs, and if you're spreading yourself thin to make other things meet, like say by the time I get to my child, I may not have the time or the energy, but I'm still overwhelmed because I got to find it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's good.
So it's like I don't want to pour sometimes the wrong energy into my child.
That's good.
We've always talked about parents struggling, and I think we talked one time before about allowing your kids to see you struggle as a man because they can learn how to bounce back.
Right.
So even when we are overwhelmed with everything, sometimes you got to sit down and explain, hey, Dad got a lot of things going on right now, but we're going to get through it together.
That's right.
Positive reinforcement. Very good.
I think just to say, I would talk on the whole idea about load on a positive note. Just to say that it's often said that or we could say the bigger the load, the bigger the testimony, or the bigger the load, the bigger the reward. So look at the load from a positive side of it. Yeah, because like we said, everything it's in progress. It's a process, and you should always look at the end of it. Always put your focus on the goal. Yeah, and when you go through all of these challenges, always try as much as possible. And when you have this load on you, always try as much as possible to confide in people who can help you. Always surround yourself with people that can help you. And they always say, we always have this thing that we say, a problem shared is half solved. So always try as much as possible to share your challenges. Like Dan said, tell your kids, like, hey, I'm going through this right now, but it's going to get better. So I look at the load from a positive point of view. And like the Chinese will always say, each time they see a challenge, they see a possibility. So always look at that challenging situation as a possibility for you to bounce back, as a possibility for you to go forward, as a possibility for you to create history that your kids will always remember when you leave. It's a whole process. Like I said, it's a vocation that you can't just get in and you want to get things smoothly. You just have to stay on the rail and just keep pushing forward.
I'm gonna have to steal that part. It's a problem shared is a problem half solved.
Yeah.
I like that.
Wow.
I want to say something about angry.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to be careful that we don't allow our anger to affect the life of our children. And I like what Trevor said, because sometimes even if you are angry, find someone to talk to. Find somebody to release that. It's almost like a balloon. You let a balloon keep on blowing, sooner or later it's gonna pop.
That's right.
And you're gonna feel sorry for the consequences of something that took place, or something that could have been solved. And sometimes we have unresolved issues in our own lives. Let's say we were not fathered, or we had a mother that wasn't in our life as we should. So we grow up with a lot of that suppressed anger, and we end up acting it out in front of our kids. Children already have a challenge. We don't need to be the extra one.
That's good.
So we have to watch out in carrying that load, not to walk and be angry all the time.
Wow, powerful. Well, we're coming to the end of this segment of modeling to help children learn. So in closing, gentlemen, any final thoughts about modeling to help children learn that you want to share with the audience, and just let them know, encourage them to to model positive behavior to help their children learn?
I think for me is for dads out there to say what you mean and mean what you say. And stick to the basics. Sometimes we can try to overdo it.
Wow.
But give our kids the basics of what they need, so then therefore when extra things happen, it can be celebrated all in the same. But make sure we do the basics of what our kids need, and be that example. You don't have to, every hero starts out as a regular guy. Know when to change, know when to go in the booth and come out, but keep the basics.
Wow. Good. Trevor.
Yeah, let me tap into my French roots, okay? I remember last time I said, les actions parlent plus que le mot, which means action speaks louder than words. So it's a call out there for all our fathers out there, all our parents out there. If you haven't done it, if you haven't been doing all that we said up here, a few minutes ago, I think this is a better opportunity for you to bounce back. Yeah, don't feel alone, don't feel down. Just listen to what we said, and sometimes like you could call around. That's the services that we offer. You can always feel free to come around, and we'll help you work through that process. Yeah. So it's time for us to get back to it. You know.
Yes, my words will be as to being a model, remember that you were a child before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And remember how it felt when someone came down on you when they were overly critical. How you didn't like those feelings and how you went nights laying on your bed looking up and wishing things were different. Don't allow your child to go through what you did. So being a model means demonstrate, treat that child. I know it's an old saying, but do unto others as you have them to do unto you, even with your children. So try to model out the adult you want your child to become.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you for turning in to Man to Man Live, Week 6 Modeling to Help Your Children Learn. Make sure you comment in the section with your name or your intervention specialist and reach out to them. Let them know you made it to Week 6 so you can get that completion certificate. Okay? We thank you. We'll see you next time on Man to Man Live.